the universe is a place of wonders. Brilliant galaxies swirl through space like cosmic cities of light. Stars burn for billions of years, filling the darkness with warmth and color. Planets form, orbiting their suns in quiet, predictable rhythms. At first glance, the universe feels alive. But this picture hides a terrifying truth. Because most of the universe is not full of stars. It is empty. Not just a little empty, but overwhelmingly, almost unimaginably empty. Between the great islands of galaxies lie vast regions where almost nothing exists. No bright stars. No glowing nebulae. No galaxies drifting quietly through the dark. Just silence. Astronomers call these places cosmic voids. And they may be the scariest places in the universe. To understand why, we need to zoom out. Far beyond Earth. Beyond the solar system. Beyond the hundreds of billions of stars that make up our home galaxy. Our galaxy, the Milky Way, is enormous. It stretches about 100,000 light-years from one side to the other and contains more stars than we could ever count. Entire civilizations could rise and fall inside it without ever realizing how vast it truly is. But even the Milky Way is only a small part of a much larger structure. Nearby, another massive galaxy approaches us slowly through space. The Andromeda Galaxy, containing roughly 1 trillion stars, is on a slow collision course with our own. Around both galaxies drift dozens of smaller companions, forming a loose family of galaxies bound together by gravity. Astronomers call this small neighborhood the local group. For a long time, scientists believed the universe looked something like this everywhere. Galaxies scattered across space like glowing islands in a dark ocean. But when telescopes became powerful enough to map millions of galaxies across the sky, a very different picture appeared. Instead of being randomly scattered, galaxies organized themselves into enormous structures. Gigantic threads of matter stretch across the universe for hundreds of millions of light-years. Along these filaments lie galaxies, galaxy clusters, and massive superclusters containing thousands of galaxies bound together by gravity. This structure is known as the cosmic web. It is one of the largest patterns in existence. But the most surprising part of the cosmic web is not the glowing threads. It is the spaces between them. Between the vast filaments of galaxies lie enormous bubbles of almost complete emptiness. Voids. These voids dominate the universe. If we could zoom out far enough, the universe would not look like a sea of galaxies. Instead, it would resemble foam or soap bubbles, with thin walls of galaxies surrounding vast hollow interiors. A typical cosmic void can stretch hundreds of millions of light-years across. To put that into perspective, imagine traveling across the Milky Way galaxy at the speed of light. Even at that impossible speed, the journey would take 100,000 years. Now imagine traveling across a region thousands of times larger than that. That is the scale of a void. Inside these regions, galaxies are incredibly rare. In some of the largest voids, astronomers have found only a handful of lonely galaxies drifting through the darkness. One of the most famous examples is the Boötes supervoid. This gigantic region of space spans roughly 300 million light-years. In a normal part of the universe that size, we would expect to find thousands of galaxies. Instead, astronomers discover almost nothing. Just a few isolated galaxies scattered across a cosmic desert. If the Boötes supervoid were visible to the human eye, it would dominate our night sky. A massive hole in the universe, stretching across a huge portion of the heavens. But emptiness alone is not what makes voids so unsettling. The real strangeness comes from how the universe behaves around them. Gravity shapes everything in the cosmos. Every object with mass pulls on every other object. Stars pull on planets. Galaxies pull on one another. Clusters of galaxies pull entire systems toward them across enormous distances. But inside a void, there is almost nothing to pull with. This creates a strange effect. Instead of objects falling toward something, everything slowly drifts away. Galaxies near the edges of voids are constantly pulled outward toward denser regions of the cosmic web. Over billions of years, matter slowly evacuates the interior of voids, leaving them emptier and emptier. As this happens, the void itself grows. It expands like a gigantic bubble in the fabric of the universe. Smaller voids merge together to form larger ones. Vast regions of darkness slowly swallow the spaces between galaxies. Over cosmic timescales, the universe is becoming more structured in one sense, but also more empty. Clusters grow denser. Voids grow larger. And this process has been happening for billions of years. Which leads to a disturbing thought. Because if voids continue growing forever, the universe may slowly transform into something very different from what we see today. In the far future, galaxies may drift farther and farther apart, pulled toward isolated islands of matter separated by enormous voids. Eventually, each remaining galaxy cluster could become surrounded by an ocean of darkness so vast that the rest of the universe becomes unreachable. Civilizations living trillions of years from now might look out into the night sky and see almost nothing at all. No distant galaxies. No glowing cosmic web. Just darkness. But there is another reason cosmic voids are so important. Inside them, scientists can observe one of the most mysterious forces in the universe. Dark energy. This strange phenomenon appears to be pushing the universe to expand faster and faster over time. Inside galaxies and clusters, gravity is strong enough to hold matter together. But inside voids, where almost nothing exists, dark energy can stretch space more freely. In other words, voids are places where the expansion of the universe becomes most visible. They are the growing cracks in the cosmic structure. And if dark energy continues to dominate the universe, these cracks will only grow larger. The cosmic web may slowly tear apart as the voids expand. Galaxy clusters will drift farther away from each other. And eventually, the observable universe could become little more than isolated islands of matter floating inside an enormous sea of emptiness. A universe dominated by voids. A universe where darkness wins. And that may be the scariest place of all. To truly understand how terrifying cosmic voids are, imagine experiencing one yourself. Not as a distant observer studying maps of galaxies, but as a traveler drifting into the deepest emptiness the universe can offer. You begin near home. The Earth is a small blue world orbiting a perfectly ordinary star. Around it stretch the familiar planets of the solar system, quietly circling the sun in their ancient paths. For now, space feels alive. The sun burns brightly. The stars fill the night sky. Even the darkness between planets feels meaningful because something always lies beyond it. But then you begin to move outward. Faster and faster. Soon the planets disappear behind you, shrinking into tiny specks of light. The solar system becomes a distant memory. Ahead of you stretches the Milky Way galaxy, an enormous spiral of stars rotating slowly through the void. From within, it feels endless. Billions of stars burn across its disk, lighting the darkness with scattered islands of brightness. But you keep going. You leave the galaxy entirely. From the outside, the Milky Way becomes something else entirely, a glowing spiral island floating alone in black space. Nearby, the Andromeda galaxy drifts closer with silent patience, while dozens of smaller galaxies orbit both giants like cosmic satellites. Together they form a small community. The local group. Even this region feels vast beyond imagination, stretching millions of light years across. But compared to the rest of the universe, it is just a tiny neighborhood. So you keep traveling. Faster than any human machine could ever move. Soon the local group fades behind you. Now you see something new, enormous clusters of galaxies bound together by gravity. Each cluster contains hundreds or even thousands of galaxies, glowing like dense swarms of stars across unimaginable distances. These clusters connect to one another through long filaments of matter, forming the cosmic web that stretches across the universe. From this distance, the universe looks alive with structure. Threads of galaxies intersect and merge, forming colossal patterns larger than anything we can truly comprehend. But as you continue your journey, the pattern begins to change. The glowing threads become thinner. The galaxies grow farther apart. Clusters become rarer. Eventually, you approach the edge of something strange. Ahead lies a region where the cosmic web seems to stop. The galaxies that once surrounded you now cling to the edges of an enormous invisible boundary. And beyond that boundary lies the void. At first, the change feels subtle. There are still galaxies behind you. Their faint light reminds you that the universe still exists somewhere out there. But the farther you travel, the darker space becomes. Soon the nearest galaxy is tens of millions of light years away. Its light is so faint that it barely registers against the darkness. You continue drifting deeper. The galaxies at the edge of the void disappear completely. Now there is nothing. No stars. No galaxies. No glowing nebulae. Only darkness stretching infinitely in every direction. Inside a cosmic void, space feels fundamentally different. Without nearby galaxies, there are no bright reference points. No structures to give you a sense of direction. Even motion becomes difficult to perceive. You could drift for millions of years and never see anything change. The silence would be absolute. But even this emptiness hides strange secrets. Although voids contain almost no visible matter, they are not truly empty. Invisible structures made of dark matter thread faintly through them, like ghostly skeletons of the cosmic web. Along these fragile filaments drift the rarest galaxies in existence. Void galaxies. These galaxies live incredibly isolated lives. Unlike galaxies in crowded clusters, they rarely collide with neighbors or experience violent gravitational interactions. Their stars form slowly, quietly, across billions of years. Some astronomers believe these lonely galaxies may survive longer than most others in the universe. When galaxy clusters eventually exhaust their gas and stop forming new stars, void galaxies may still continue their slow, patient evolution. In a strange way, the emptiest places in the universe might become the last places where new stars are born. But the long-term future of voids may be even stranger. Because of dark energy. Dark energy is one of the greatest mysteries in modern science. We do not know what it is, only that it appears to push space itself outward, accelerating the expansion of the universe. Inside galaxy clusters, gravity is strong enough to resist this expansion. Galaxies remain bound together despite the growing universe around them. But inside cosmic voids, gravity is weak. There is simply not enough matter to hold space tightly together. So dark energy stretches the voids more easily. They grow faster than the rest of the universe. Across billions and trillions of years, voids will expand further and further, slowly pushing galaxy clusters apart from one another. The cosmic web that once connected galaxies across space will gradually unravel. Clusters will drift away from one another until they disappear beyond the observable horizon. Eventually, every cluster may become trapped inside its own isolated region of space. From within one of those distant clusters, future astronomers might look out into the night sky and see almost nothing at all. No other galaxies. No cosmic web. No evidence that the universe was ever filled with vast structures of matter. They would believe they lived in a small, lonely universe containing only their own galaxy cluster. The rest of the cosmos would be hidden behind an ocean of expanding voids. In that distant future, cosmic voids will dominate everything. The universe will not end in fire or collapse. Instead, it may fade slowly into silence. Galaxies separated by unimaginable distances. Stars burning out one by one. And between them, the vast emptiness of expanding voids swallowing more and more of the cosmos. The scariest place in the universe is not a violent explosion or a monstrous black hole. It is something much quieter. An emptiness so enormous that it slowly takes over everything. A darkness that grows for trillions of years. Until almost nothing remains.